Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Recha Kodash, double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Much peace and love unto your brothers out there doing his work in truth and sincerity, and also peace and blessings unto the believers of the hopeful elect. And the name of this lesson is going to be Call to Mind the Acts of the Lord. And I am doing this lesson to encourage you brothers and sisters out there to call to mind all of the acts and the mighty works that Yahweh Shema Shai has done for you up until this very point in the faith, man. Because those acts that the Lord did for us, man, were faith boosters. Okay? And we're going to need that faith in these coming days to know that Yahweh Shema Shai will come through for us, man, because he did it before. All right? And we can stand upon those acts. Okay? And so in this lesson, I just wanted to get an account, all right, of the very thing that I'm talking about, and just show you that how through excuse me, show you that how through the acts of the Lord, all right, King David was able to go in full faith against Goliath, man, because of what sorry, excuse me, because of what the Heavenly Father had did for him in time past. Okay, now this is the book of 1 Samuel chapter 17. All right, and I give you the backdrop of what's going on in this chapter. Our forefathers are getting ready to battle against the Philistines. And amongst the Philistines, there was a mighty warrior named Goliath, all right? A tall African, so that you can know, all right? A very tall, strong, so-called African man who was a mighty warrior, and he had the children of Israel afraid, man, all right? For days, for weeks, they didn't want to fight against this man. But when King David came up to the battle to check on his brothers, all right, he was inquiring about Goliath and seeing why he was blaspheming the armies and defying the armies of Yahweh, man. And he was inquiring around about, Goliath and saying that he'll fight him and all this stuff. So word had got back to King Saul. And this is the point to where I'm at here in verse 31. And then I'll read on. It says, and when the words were heard which David spake, they rehearsed them before Saul, and he sent for him. And David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine. Now, King David, all right, was a young boy at this time, all right? He was a young man, probably, early teenager, you know what I'm saying? A kid. But he was ready. He said, look, don't let nobody be afraid. I'll go fight this man. It says, and Saul said to David, thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. So Saul like, no way. There is no way you about to go up here and fight this man. You is a youth. And this man been a warrior from his youth. So Saul like, nah, bro, you can't. It says, and David said unto Saul, thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. And I went out after him, and smote him, and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard, and smote him, and slew him. Thy servant slew both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing he had defied the armies of the living God. David said, moreover, the Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said unto David, go, and the Lord be with thee. You see, this is King David right here. He rehearsed, he called to mind the acts of the Lord, man. How the Lord saved him from a lion and a bear. Think about that, bro. A lion and a bear. Two vicious creatures, bro. But the Most High saved King David from a lion and a bear. And King David said, look, this uncircumcised Philistine will be as that lion and bear. He said, look, the Lord gonna deliver him from the Philistine, man. So he was in full faith. This is why he wasn't afraid, because of what the Lord had already did for him. Okay? So it says, and Saul armed David with his armor, and he put a helmet of brass upon his head. Also he armed him with a coat of a meal. And David girded his sword upon his shoulder. Oh, Slakia. And David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go, for he had not proved him. And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them off him. And he took his staff in his hand, and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook, and put them in a shepherd's bag, which he had, even in his scrip. And his sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. And the Philistine came on and drew near unto David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. And when the Philistine looked about, and he saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, and ruddy, and of a fair countenance. You see, King David was just a little boy. He was a young man, all right? So, Goliath like, man, what the hell? You know, he like, bro, y'all sent a kid out here? It says, and the Philistine said unto David, am I a dog that thou comest to me with staves? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. And the Philistine said to David, come to me, and I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the air, and to the beasts of the field. Then said David to the Philistine, thou comest to me with the sword, and with the spear, and with the shield. But I come to thee in the name of Yahweh of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. Right? He came in the name of Yahweh. And there is nothing more powerful than the Most High God Yahweh. No sword, no spear, no shield, no special technique, nothing can go against the Most High, man. But Goliath didn't understand that. Okay? Goliath thought he was a man. It says, this day will the Lord deliver thee into mine hand, and I will smite thee, and take thine head from thee, and I will give the carcasses of the host of the Philistines. It says, and I will give the carcasses of the host of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air, and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. And all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands. And it came to pass when the Philistine arose, and came and drew nigh to meet David, that David hasted, and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in his bag, and took thence a stone, and slinged it, and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. So David prevailed over the Philistine with the sling and with the stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him, but there was no sword in the hand of David. Therefore David ran and stood upon the Philistine, and took his sword, and drew it out of the sheath thereof, and slew him, and cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled. And the men of Israel and Judah arose and shouted and pursued the Philistines until thou come to the valley and to the gates of Ekron. And the wounded of the Philistines fell down by the way of away to Sharaim, even unto Goth and unto Ekron. And the children of Israel returned from chasing after the Philistines, and they spoiled their tents. And David took the head of the Philistine and brought it to Jerusalem, but he put his army in his tent. So, as you can see, brothers and sisters, through King David calling to mind the acts of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, man, and what the Lord did for him, he was in full faith to fight against Goliath, man. He had no doubt, he had no fear, because why? Of what the Lord had already did for him. And we're going to have to call to mind all the acts and the things that the Lord has done for us, so that we can have something to fall back on and have hope that the Most High is going to continue to take care of us and pull us through the hell that is coming. All right? So, Lord willing, this sit down edifying to you, brothers and sisters. Once again, I will give all praise and glory to Yahweh Hashem Shai. Shalom.